Anxious to get over college, I was in the
There is a slight delay.
All right, it is 9 a.m. on April the 7th, 2020. We will now call to order the meeting for the City of Statesboro Council. We will have our invocation and pledge of allegiance by Councilman John Riggs.
Lord, please be with us in this trying time. Help us overcome the many obstacles we have in our way. We know it's going to be a better day soon. Just have to get through a few bad days. Please heighten our human spirit, our American spirit. Let us do what we do best, which is overcome and take care of one another. God bless America. God bless the state of Georgia, county of Bullock, and the city of Statesboro. In your name, amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Leah, we have recognitions and public presentations. Are they in?
No, ma'am.
Okay, we'll move down to public comments. Are there any public comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, consideration of a motion to approve the consent agenda, which is to approve the minutes of our March 17th work session and council meeting, as well as a special call meeting for March 22nd. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. We'll move down to agenda item 6, which is a discussion of emergency measures relating to COVID-19. Just to kind of get us all on the same page, the governor issued a shelter-in-place order that looked very much like what the city of Statesboro was already doing. So I do want to give the staff kudos on making sure that we did the right thing at the right time. What we do have on today's discussion is that I would like to recommend to the council that we take our state of emergency and coincide it with the state of Georgia, so that when the state of Georgia's run out, ours run out at the same time. Is there any discussion along those lines?
The only thing I'm interested in, and I asked you about this, Mr. Penny, what's the status of our hospital? Because, you know, the whole point of us shutting everything down so we don't overwhelm the hospital. So I'd like to kind of know what the status of the hospital is. You know, are they in good shape? Are our measures doing what they need to be done? You know, that kind of thing. And if you don't have numbers, that's fine. I'll be happy to reach out to the CEO later today.
Thanks.
But I think the public needs to.
I will say, I'm in constant contact with Steve Pennington at the hospital. And the last time I checked with them, which was maybe Friday of last week, they're holding their own.
Okay.
And I say that in this sense. There's capacity there, but we want to be careful, because one day they may be okay, and then all of a sudden they get overrun. But when we talked, and he was cautiously optimistic about their numbers, and so without going into that to those details, because we are live, the hospital right now is handling the cases that are in this county and some surrounding counties. But when I talked with him last week, he felt fairly good about where our hospital is at this point in the situation that we're facing. Yeah.
Is there any further discussion? Okay. Is there a motion to align our state of emergency with that of the state of Georgia? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, let it show that that measure has passed. We'll move down to agenda item 7, which is.
Mayor, just to be clear, that's still the 13th until further notice.
Yeah, we just want to coincide everything with the state of Georgia.
Just double check.
Alright, consideration of, agenda item 7, which is consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2020-11, resolution for the city of Statesboro, the city of ethics. Mr. Payne.
Mayor, members of the council, we are requested because we have to recertify our, being a city of ethics. And so council is being asked to adopt this resolution, and we have to send, because we have to be recertified by April 30th. We have to submit this information by April 30th. And so what this simply means is that there are 5 ethic principles that this council agrees with. And one is to serve others, not ourselves, use resources with efficiency and economy, treat all people fairly, use the power of our position for the well-being of our constituents, and create an environment of honesty, openness, and integrity. And that is in the resolution that is before you today for your adoption. And upon your adoption, we will submit this to the corporate authorities, to GMA, so that we can continue to be a city of ethics.
Alright, any discussion by council? Seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Alright. We'll move down to agenda item 8. Oh, my bad. All those in favor?
Aye.
Alright, good deal. Move to agenda item 8, consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2020-12, a resolution approving application for funding in the amount of $5,558.14 from the local government scrap tire abatement program administered by the Georgia Environmental Protection Division. Mr. Payne.
Mayor, members of the council, again, it's an opportunity for us to receive some funds for cleaning up our right-of-ways with scrap tires. And this will be the second year that we will have participated. The city does not have to match the funding that would come from the state. However, we would be using, it would be through force account use of our labor, our people that are doing the work. And that's the way we will contribute for, toward collecting these scrap tires and getting reimbursed by the state. And we recommend it to you.
Alright, thank you. Any discussion by council? Seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Alright. We move down to agenda item 9, which is consideration of a motion to approve the sale of the following items that are surplus equipment: 10 communication headsets, 27 Motorola portable radios, 8 rifles. Is there any insight from Mr. Payne?
Mayor, members of the council, these are surplus items, and we have an offer of $6,000 from the Blackshear community, and we recommend that you approve the disposition of this surplus equipment.
Alright, thank you. Any discussion by council? Alright, seeing that there's no discussion by council, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Alright, we're gonna move down to agenda item 10, which is consideration of a motion to approve the updated automatic aid agreement between Bullock County Fire Department and Statesboro Fire Department as submitted. Mr. Payne?
Mayor and members of the city council, we've had an automatic aid agreement with Bullock County since 2010. And so what you have before you today is, this is just simply updating that agreement. There's some differences in this example. For example, when this was done in 2010, the city had Department of Public Safety, which we don't have anymore. So the document would reflect the fact that we no longer have instead of a director of public safety, it would be a fire chief. It also talks about how the fire chief and our fire chief and the Bullock County fire chief collaborate in carrying out their duties. And then it also talks about different apparatus that they would use if we need to do an automatic aid. This is beyond the fire district. This is when the Bullock County Fire Department needs our help, we automatically respond to them, and vice versa. If we need their assistance, they automatically come to us as well. And then probably the most important piece of this, having a Class 2 fire department is very helpful for the folks that live in Bullock County and to the city of Statesboro citizens, because it helps with our insurance rate. And so what this also does, it helps with the Insurance Services Organization, the Public Protection Classification Rating. So by having this automatic aid agreement, more people will be able to take advantage of the great rating that we have, and hopefully have a reduced insurance rate. And so what we're doing, Mayor and members of the council, is simply updating the document and asking for your approval of the recommended automatic aid agreement.
Thank you. Any discussion with council? All right, seeing that there's no discussion with council, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, is there a consideration, move down to agenda item 11, consideration of a motion to approve the community and improvements agreement with LSSD Hartford LLC for the Hartford subdivision located along Packing House Road. Mr. Penny.
Again, Mayor and members of the council, what this agreement is, the Hartford subdivision, it will remain under one ownership. It's about 150 single-family homes that will be built for rental. And what this does, it establishes the infrastructure, how the infrastructure will be maintained, so that because we have infrastructure, and I believe it's a gated community. It's a gated community, so you have private roads, but they will be built to our standards. Our infrastructure will be in there, and we'll be able to go in and we'll be able to maintain our equipment. The other thing that it does is it also establishes a warranty period for our infrastructure, the water and the sewer lines. After everything is completed, they have the warranty for a year before it's actually turned over to us. Once it's turned over to us, then we're ultimately responsible for it. The other thing is, if they all of a sudden decide that they're going to start selling those properties, which could happen, we need to make sure that this document, the people that are buying those properties, know that this document is in place and what we're responsible for and what we're not responsible for. So by approving this agreement, that will help clear up any misunderstandings that might occur in the future. We recommend to you that you approve this agreement.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Penny. Any discussion by council?
Yeah. We have a moratorium on apartment buildings, do we not?
Yeah,
It expired?
we never put
We
one
never,
in.
we never put one in.
We never, Councilmember Riggs asked
You
us,
suggested it, but we never put it in.
well, never put it in. Right.
Well,
I mean, cause I have a real concern about building a neighborhood with 150 rentals. I mean, I understand it's gonna be under one ownership, but, I mean, we need single-family homes that are owner-occupied. We don't need any more rental homes. So, I mean, I have a real concern about this, especially where that location is. So, I mean, I don't know if you guys want to discuss this at all, but more rental, I mean, Mayor, you know, I mean, more rentals is the last thing. So,
That lot is full of rental properties.
I know.
And obviously in our community, we have a high rental rate. But again, that is the national trend as well.
Well, the national trend isn't into the 80s.
Well, it's not in the 80s, but you're seeing more people renting across the country than you used to see.
Sure.
So, you know.
What do you think, Bill?
I mean, that's my only concern is that here we have another 150 rentals that are gonna be higher end, that are gonna pull the wealthier folks out of these existing places. They're gonna cause more problems with Park Place, and I mean, especially in this environment that we have now, where we don't know what's gonna happen in 3 to 6 months. So I mean, I really caution expanding our rental market, especially so sizably in this, right where we're at. If he was building a single family neighborhood, I also wanna know, when you mentioned if he sells homes, is there a homeowners association?
There would be,
There would be, or there is?
There would be to change the model. The current model is that the ownership would remain under one entity. But if he decides to start selling them, then it rolls over and it does create a homeowners association. But I just want to be clear, and I'm gonna need to ask Jason to help me with this, because this is an agreement. This is an agreement. The question is, project already been approved, because we're not, you make a valid point, but if the project has already been approved, as a
No, you're right.
development, you're not gonna stop the development. But the issue of this agreement is still a valid issue that needs to be taken care of. What,
And I get it didn't come to us because it didn't have any variances, it didn't need any of that stuff, so, you know, if you've got a piece of property, you build within our codes, you can build whatever you want.
I just need, Jason, you wanna say something? Come to the
Yeah,
mic.
you're good. So this agreement, I'll speak loud so we don't cross over.
But I wanna make sure the public can hear.
All right, so this agreement primarily centers around the fact that it's going from a non-gated subdivision to a gated community. And that's where these protections come in. I believe, City Attorney Kane Smith worked on this document as well, so, I mean, without this agreement, I mean, the owner could keep
Still
the
do
gates
it.
down, still do it. There's nothing to stop anybody from owning a block of homes, and, subdivision's approved, homes are under construction. So this is just to protect, property owners and protect the city long run.
I just would, it would really be nice to see a homeowners association document in place, because here's what happens, 5 years from now, maybe none of us are here, and then they decide to switch it over, and, oh, well, the new guy forgets, and then, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's how this happens.
Well, again, Mayor and members of the council, I don't know that there's any sense of urgency if you don't approve today. We can talk to the property owners. Again, I just don't know that it will change the general sense of the development. But I recognize the concern, and it's a legitimate and a valid concern for our community overall.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
You know, but it is sort of like the horse is already out the barn.
Yeah.
No, and I understand, man.
Yeah, let me get a point of clarity. The homeowners association document would happen only if
they
they
sell.
decide to sell.
Yes.
Okay, so as of right now, that's not what they're playing.
That's not the plan.
Okay, alright,
Mayor, if I may note,
Yeah.
one of these, the community agreement will be recorded at the land records office. And so anybody, and that's the one that sets out the requirement in particular about the establishment of HOA upon offering any of these for sale as, you know, for single family residents. So it is anybody who receives notice, anybody who does a title search on this property, this community agreement will show up, and it is very clear about the obligation of the developer.
Are these, I'm sorry, I haven't seen the plan, so are they pre-platted, or is this just one big plat?
It's a traditional subdivision, there are 150 lots.
So there are lots, just every lot is owned by the same person.
Yes, the developer.
So
has-
it's set up for single home sales.
Yes.
That's right.
So it's set up for single homes.
It's a traditional subdivision. They went into bankruptcy during the Great Recession, and now they bought it from the bank and redeveloped it.
Right. So, you know, if they were holding on to that thing forever, they'd put it on one lot, but they didn't. They divided it up. What does that mean? They're probably gonna sell those things down the road if things get
If
tight.
the market is good.
That's right. So I just wanna make sure that we don't have another
Park Place or.
subdivision that doesn't have a homeowners association, doesn't have the ability to police and stuff, kind of thing, yeah.
So what Campbell, you were just telling us about it being recorded, that is required, that it be recorded so it would come up in title searches and such? As part of the
You have to put it,
agreement?
it has to be part of the, warranty deed, it'll be in, restrictions and covenants, and it's a whole 4, 5, 10 page thing.
Which is just a very important piece for us. Because what we don't want to have happen is for people to start buying property, then all of a sudden they figure it out, and then they come to us later and
Yeah.
say,
This
well,
was
we didn't know
straight
that was the case,
Mhm.
and this will, it protects us.
Thank you.
Alright, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Just a little more, talking about, apartment complexes, you know, big $60 million project that, was brought to us.
Okay, hold on one second. Did this just pass?
It did.
Okay, alright, just wanna make sure, Leah, we on the same page? Alright, go ahead, John.
You didn't ask.
You know, there was supposed to be,
Yeah,
well, I know the guy personally went to college here, we went to college together.
Mhm.
Anyway, $60 million project, very big incentive for him to do whatever it takes to have the thing built.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he actually, his daughter was going to Kennesaw, and he actually sent her down here as an incentive for us. Anyway, he told me, cause he was here when the Stadium Walk was built, when Park Place was built, and I told him when he came and asked me personally, you know, he said, come meet me out here. He said, what can we do? First of all, I said, every bed that you put up, it's gonna make every other bed around Georgia Southern less desirable, less, less value. And he said, well, what can I do to fix it? And he doesn't know what to do. I don't know what to do, but he offered. If we get Mr. Penny and they have to look into it and see if anytime somebody wants to build apartment complex that's gonna build new beds, they have to reinvest in other places. We have to make sure that they're gonna make something else better along with themselves, because they're making money hand over fist. They can afford to do something. Do you think that would be possible?
I'm sorry, Mr. Reeves.
Would what be possible? I'm sorry.
For the staff to look into what can we do, what can other developers that's looking to build apartments, what can they do in order to help us alleviate some of the issues that we're dealing with as far as apartments are associated with?
My example is
Jason.
is the guy who has the plan for the big $60 million 6-story apartment over by the college. Well, I told him, I said, every bed you build makes all those beds go down. And he said, well, what can I do to help alleviate that? And I was telling him about crime, and Stadium Walk and Park Place, and he said, well, what can I do about it? And could we get them to do some sort of reinvestment in making other places better? Because I mean, every time we build, Stadium, I mean, Park Place and Stadium Walk go down just a little bit. All places go down just a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know what we could do, and he doesn't know what we could do, but we could do something in their will.
So in other words, let's have the staff to look into what some of the best.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so Jason, what I want to ask you is, do we have any apartment complexes in the pipeline for coming on in the near future?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so let's do a 90-day moratorium on anything related to apartment complexes, so that the staff have opportunity so that we can have a better idea of how to address this matter. Okay. Staff, what is your thought on that?
Mayor, could we do this? Could we, in 2 weeks, come back to you with a recommendation, if you would hold that thought and let us come back when we have our work session in 2 weeks, and we'll have that as a discussion.
That sounds good to me.
Without imposing
Right.
90-day moratorium.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, are we on the same page with
Well,
that?
and even if we were to vote something like that in, Kane would need to write up the document.
Yes.
So we'll come back to you in 2
Okay.
weeks.
So are we fine with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Justin. All right, yeah, item 12. That's what I was racing to get to, all right? Line item 12, consideration of a motion to approve award of contract for City of Statesboro Street resurfacing FY 2020 to Sykes Brothers Incorporated in the bid amount of $996,500. with approval to spend up to the budgeted amount of $1,952,080 for additional work based on contractors' unit bid practices. Mr. Penny, give us some insight.
Now, this is, we're excited about this, the paving, and so staff did a great job of, we presented to you in work session the streets that would be a part of this contract. We bid it out. Sykes obviously is the low bidder. We're gonna be using the LBIG grant, and then we'll be using some the T-SPLOST dollars as well. And obviously it came in under bid, and we'll see if there's a way we can add any additional streets, but you never know. right now, that's a little cushion, and they run into things, and that cost may go up a little bit. But if not, we'll look and see if we can add some additional streets. But we recommend to you the approval of the award to sites.
Well, they should be spending less on their traffic mitigation, spending, nobody's on the road.
Okay. We want to get them back on.
Traffic mitigation is always part of it, somebody's gotta put out cones and things like that.
And I know you want to know, how soon can we get started?
Yeah.
It'd be sometime early spring.
Yeah, I plan to have a kickoff meeting as soon as you approve this. I'm gonna contact them and have something within the week and try to get them mobilized within the next 2 to 3 weeks. We have a 90-day duration for the contract, and my goal is to have this done and completed by or before July 1st of this year.
Completed.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Get that man some of them peanuts down. Thank you, John.
Are you gonna let us come out and put our hands in the asphalt?
Now the mayor's gonna follow the truck. Yeah, they gotta run the mayor off the road. Run me off. Let me look and see what's going on. All right, is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We move down to agenda item 13, which is consideration of a motion to award a contract to Atlantic and Southern Equipment LLC in the amount of $55,909.75 for the purchase and installation of a tractor mounted boom mower. Mr. Penny.
Mayor, members of council, what I want to say to you is that, as a part of cautionary budgeting, because of the economic downturn, I did tell you that we were gonna pull back on some purchases. Now, this was already in the system, and this is gonna be purchased through the GMA loan pool. So it's not like we're using cash on hand now. Something will come due somewhere down the road, and this equipment will be used by the stormwater group. And so we do recommend that we award the bid, and purchase that piece of equipment for stormwater group.
Any discussion by council? Seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Let it show that line item 13 is passed. We'll move down to agenda item 14, which is consideration of a motion to award contract to Yancey Brothers in the amount of $157,841 for the purchase of a backhoe. Is there any discussion, Mr. King?
Same explanation, Mayor. Again, the stormwater utility is a fairly young group, and we still need to get equipment purchased for them, and again, need to buy the backhoe for them, but again, it will be purchased through the GMA loan pool. So again, it's not like spending cash on it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Recommend to you.
Any discussion by council? All right, seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Alright, let's show that agenda item 14 is passed. We'll move down to agenda item 15, other business from city council.
May I ask Mr. Penny, will we get an update on the state of local compliance with social distancing during your remarks? That's a concern of mine.
I'm not prepared to do that today, but I'll send you something out in writing.
I will say, Ms. Barr, I've seen some of the emails you mentioned about Walmart and Lowe's and extensive amounts of cars. Having been in both of those stores over the past 2 weeks, I mean, there's always going to be some folks that are just going to do whatever, unless we declare martial law. But for the most part, I would say over 90% of the people are distancing and being careful and not shaking hands and not hugging and not getting into people's faces. Most of the retail establishments have put up some kind of a face screen. Even if you go get paint at Lowe's, there's a plastic screen. So, so most of the retailers are, by and large, what I can tell, doing what they can to comply and keep their facilities open so people don't go screw-free.
Mayor, members of council, to Ms. Barr's point, I did send an email out to y'all earlier last week in reference to the use of overtime. And I'll need to get a report from, the police and fire as to the efforts that they've seen. But they've been working, and we have not backed off of what we're doing using overtime. But I also know that, and just from somewhat a neighbor saying, Walmart has changed the way they've been doing some things, and the way you go in and the way you come out. But we'll get that information and I'll send it out to you.
Thank you. I know there have been local efforts, and I really commend the businesses who did it early on, and I'm glad that other folks are getting on board, and that there is more of that going on in Statesboro. It's to all our good. The quicker people can do that and realize and take it seriously. One other concern, I understood there was a local church who was having difficulty following this. Can anybody prepare to address that or give us an update?
No, it's not in the city limits, it's just outside of the city limits.
I wonder if the state patrol went on.
Yeah, state
That's
patrol
fine.
and, the sheriff department was on site.
Thank you.
But as far, and not about that churches, but what I think you're seeing is more people are doing things online as far as churches are concerned, or if they are meeting, they're complying with, other than that church, the governor's order, or they're doing drive-up worships, where people drive up and they stay in their car and the minister's out on the front porch and they have some music and all. So folks are trying. I think they are, some are taking pretty seriously now. We still may have a few folks that are not, they don't think they can get sick because they're too young. But I think some of the action that the mayor is going to take at the end will help us, help the police and the fire folks be able to enforce the action of the government.
Thank you.
Any further discussion by council?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and council members, I just wanted to take a second to acknowledge a friend that we all lost last night, Senator, and I don't know if you were gonna say something, but in case you weren't, Senator Jack Hill, a great friend to the university, a great friend to this community. He was probably one of the, as far as an elected official goes, one of those guys that you just, everyone looks up to, everyone respects. He was polite, he was friendly. He may not have agreed with everything he voted on, but he always had conviction and compassion, and he was just a great friend to this community. He was a great friend to Georgia Southern. He was a great friend to the city, and he's going to be missed. He died working for the state of Georgia. He died at his desk. So I mean, that's real dedication, and I just personally, he was a great guy, and he's going to be missed.
Absolutely. You know, I don't think we can say enough about Senator Hill. He's someone that I personally looked up to, and he was everywhere. He was everywhere. Like, you know, you'll see him at the Rwanda, you'll see him at the fair. He'll be in the fair parade. He'll be at the local meetings. He was everywhere, and he did a lot. And he's someone that if you're an elected official and you're gonna model yourself after anybody and their work ethic, Jack Hill is one of those individuals. So we definitely, and you know, at the end of this, I was gonna order that our flag be lowered to half mast out of respect for, and that's every flag that's at every city facility be lowered to half mast in honor of Senator Hill. And so what we want to do is just pay our respects. But he is someone, I'm telling you, when I say he was. Some people say they represent all of the people, but he really did. Like he was, I mean, like he was really there. I mean, like you walking around and you like, that's Senator Hill, and it's him.
Fortunately, his two clones are still alive.
Yeah.
He was everywhere.
Yeah, he was. So with that being said, we have lost a giant within our community, and we definitely want to send our condolences to his family, to his close friends, to his colleagues in Atlanta, and all of those people that's gonna have a hole in their heart because of him. So we definitely want to do that. But with that being said, we'll transition to another space. We're gonna issue a executive order. And I'm not gonna read through the entire piece. As you can find it, you can find the executive order, on Governor Kemp's website, cause it's the exact same order as his. What this executive order is allowing us to do, is to bring us all the way up to what the state of Georgia is doing. And it empowers our local police department, code enforcement, fire department, and so forth, to be able to be able to enforce what the governor has already passed. And so this is the executive order that we will sign in today, in regards to the city of Statesboro, and its efforts to keep our community safe. Is there any discussion by council or staff?
Mayor, if I may make one comment on it, since the motion was made to go ahead and align our declaration of emergency with the state, the way this is written is that it extends through the end of our declaration of emergency. However, since we are aligning it with the state, that effective date on the last page needs to be altered to 11:59 p.m. on Monday, April 13th. So it will coincide with the state declaration of emergency. That's the only variance in here. Of course, the only way we can do this is if it is word for word what Governor Kemp's April 2nd declaration states, and this does.
Yeah, and just as a point of clarity to the council, I believe that it's as a best practice to align what we do with what the governor does. So, so if the governor comes out on the 13th and say that we're continuing in this state, then know that we'll bring it back in regards to that. Are we on the same page with that, or is there any questions?
You just want to put that at the end, expiring on Monday, April 15th, or whenever the governor is official.
Yeah. Let's word it at the end, that it is to run simultaneously. How can we do it?
We just simply don't know what Kemp is going to do on April 4th. He may change.
I see. So you can just say to do another executive order.
That's right. That's right. If y'all just go ahead and we'll give the mayor, pre-approval to issue one that coincides with any subsequent order of Kemp. We can have that publicly, and it would be within his power to execute that executive order.
Okay. All right. Any discussion in regards to the document? Seeing that it is none, we will execute the executive order following the meeting. Is that correct, Leah? We'll just sign off on it then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right.
Mayor, members of council, wanted to bring to your attention, I sent it in your FYI, but want to say for the public, and so that we advertise this on April the 14th at 6 o'clock p.m. We will be doing a virtual open house and Ronald Wolf of Woods will do that virtual open house. Excuse me. And the purpose of that open house is to review the sketch plans for Louetta Moore, Grady Street Park, and Memorial Park, Fair Road Park. And so that is to just keep moving forward with the work that has been done. I will, and I think I did put this in the memo to you, that even though we're going to do the virtual, I do think it's important when we get to a place that we can meet in person, that we have a meeting in person, because even with the virtual, we're gonna miss somebody, because some people don't have the technology, and so I don't think y'all would want people to say they didn't know anything about the plans. And so even if you do it in person, some folks are gonna say they don't know about the plan, but at least we will have gone a couple of steps to try to ensure that the public has an opportunity to participate. And we'll get Lane to make sure she posted on our website that we will do this on April 14th at 6 o'clock. and how people can participate. We have to figure that out, because it's not, it can't just be on Facebook Live, it's gotta be like in a Zoom or a GoToMeeting setting, so folks can come in, look, and interact with, Mr. Wolf, Mr. Huffman.
I was just gonna recommend, we got the Joe Brandon Hall over there with the windows, so whenever you guys get the drawings and everything else, can we like stick them to the inside of the windows, people can look out? You can social distance, you know?
Yeah.
Still look at it, just don't touch the glass.
Well, we could all, well, we can do that. we can do that. I mean,
Get your damn hands off the glass.
when we're able to open City Hall up, we can also put copies down in the lobby, so as people come in, they'll be able to see, and they can ask questions about what it is we're doing.
Okay.
Mayor, and so, one other thing I just wanted to mention to you. I sent an email out yesterday, but, we are closing City Hall and all public buildings to the public through the end of April. And until we get through, this pandemic situation. And if something should happen that we meet those markers well before the end of April, we can always remove it. But at this point, we believe it's in our best interest to, extend it until the end of April. And I will also report to you that we're taking steps to ensure that, police already, they're getting the equipment that they need as far as masks are concerned. But we're taking efforts to ensure that every city employee has masks, so that as they are working, as they're coming back and forth, because if the CDC is saying that people need to have masks, we certainly don't want our city employees out and about, without masks, and so we're taking those efforts to see if we can't get those in place for our city employees. So I just want to share that with you.
Thank you.
Mayor, excuse me just a minute, I like Phil's point about putting it up publicly, and it would be lovely if we could get these big charts laminated, or put them up on like the inside of the glass doors over at Louetta Moore, and over at the park on Brady Street, we could laminate and attach it to the fence, just so folks who are actually there and taking walks and being out in near the parks would have an opportunity to see it without having to have computer access.
I just don't know, see how that's possible at Grady Street.
No.
Where they gonna attach it to the gate?
A laminated copy maybe.
Stick it to the backboard.
We'll look for ways that we can do that. After we have the virtual city hall, so they can explain what is recommended.
Yeah, now, okay,
Thank you.
good. Alright, we're down to, public comments. Any public comments at this point? See, we have the pen pass. Seeing that there's no public comments, we have, consideration of a motion to enter into executive session to discuss personnel matters, real estate, and or potential litigation in accordance with OCGA 50-14-3B. And we need to go into executive session for, discussion of a personnel matter. Is there a motion to do so? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in